Samreen will be sharing the power of the sacred pause. Samreen is coming to us from the UK. In a world that constantly pulls us forward, the ability to pause has become a radical act of self-leadership. We will explore how conscious breathing creates a space between stimulus and response. Samreen facilitates guided breathwork sessions that help individuals calm the nervous system, release stress, and reconnect with the balance and clarity. Her work focuses on the breath as a bridge between mind and body, creating safe, well-held spaces for profound healing and self-regulation. Welcoming to the stage, Samreen McGregor. Welcome. Woo!
Thank you, Ravi. Wow. And what to follow with that beautiful session and everything you've just reminded us about the purpose of why we're all here and also the efforts and passion that goes into creating this beautiful container. So thank you. It's absolutely lovely to be here today. Now, I'm going to ask a little question, perhaps just to help stir up a little bit of self-reflection. Think a little bit about how much in your own day do you believe you're actually choosing what you do, how you feel, how you might go about your life, and how much of it you feel you're being carried through, how much of it you're being led, not necessarily by yourself. Just take a moment to consider this. How much of it are you choosing? And how much of it are you being carried through? I am very conscious that we're living at a time where the pace of life it's no longer human in my experience. And to be a little bit trite, I would say it's technological. It's a pace that involves tasks through life that at some point in the past, and for many of us it's different, it may have taken weeks, maybe months to do, to explore, to process, to metabolize some things that we're having to do exactly the same in a matter of hours, minutes, and actually many times even seconds. Information is moving faster than we can actually process it, and decisions are being expected of us, including of ourselves, in a rhythm and a pace that's so quick that we don't even fully think them through. We don't feel them. We don't somatically embody the consequences of them. And at the same time, I would say, and this is maybe a claim, and I might be a little bit bold saying this, but most of us don't really have the privilege, the time, the chance to stop and ask ourselves, what is this pace doing to us, to our nervous systems, to our livelihoods, to our sense of space? And I feel that we are becoming more and more capable. And I think some of this is great news, by the way, because we're proving that we're able to do things at a level and at a scale that's unprecedented. But we are optimized for speed. And as human beings, I don't know whether we've evolved our capacity to integrate, to feel, to respond with intention, given this rhythm and given this pace. So we live in a kind of constant forward motion. We're reacting, we're deciding, we're responding without really quite arriving or remembering at times. And I notice that we can feel this in our lives. We are noticing it in the systems around us, in the tone of the conversations surrounding us and the ones that we participate in, and in the way decisions are made at every level in society. I mean, just pick up any piece of news and however you read it or see it, there's a kind of urgency or a reactivity. And there's really very little space to pause, to reflect, and to, as I say, to truly metabolize what this means. So, in this next 15 or so minutes, I would just like to invite you to notice what happens when we create a bit of space within all of this, because all of this is still happening. It's happening around us, it's happening within us. But just let's experience a bit of that space. And I will talk a little bit more about what I mean by pause, what I personally take away as pause, as a really core theme of this year's event. So let me also ask you a different question. Just in the gift of reciprocity for me, I'd love to hear your responses in the chat. When you hear the word sacred, what comes to mind? What does sacred mean to you? Just give me a few responses to that, please, as a gift of reciprocity. Okay. Holy, peaceful, respected from a divine place. Yeah. What's interesting about what I'm seeing here is that these things we instinctively treat as sacred are things that precious, that we instinctively treat with care, with reverence, with attention. And yet, something I held true in my heart. Oh, beautiful. And yet, very few of these exist at the pace and structure of our everyday lives all the time. So perhaps in this world that we're living in now, and this is again another claim, nothing is sacred unless we are consciously choosing to make that so. And Rabbi reminds us of our breath as something that we can consciously access at any point in time. I would definitely include that as a divinity of our sacred holding. Now, the pause in our lives becomes sacred in a world where we don't have access to it unless we Im implicitly and explicitly choose to find it and to use it. Not because it's something different or divine or spiritual, but because it's one of the last places that has been colonized by speed. Just take that thought in for a moment and reflect on the speed of your life. Now, the breath gives us access to this space. It's one of the few systems in the body that is both automatic or autonomic and available to choice. And for me, this builds a bridge between those patterns that we're running unconsciously and the life that we're trying to live with choice, with agency. So rather than just talking about this, let's try and experience it together because we are an experiential set of practitioners, or certainly experimenters, those of us who are here who might not be, typical breath workers, but this is one of, yes, the breath, one of the last places that has been colonized by speed. I'm just repeating that out loud because I did actually really feel that. And someone else did too, Ravi did. So let's experience this. There needs to be a change. There needs to be a change in how we use that bridge if we are going to take the sacred of the breath. So let's just take a moment and take a make a relationship with our breath in a way that helps us understand and embody the pause. Okay, that's just a little invitation to you. Let's channel our attention to our breath for a moment. And I know some of us are already warmed up. We've just been doing this for a short period before I've come on. So don't change anything. Channel your attention and tune into this breath. Okay, I often like to tune into the soma, into the body, into what it is that our body, rather than just our mind, provides for us. So let's just tune into that breath. Again, don't change anything. Don't try to force anything. Just notice it. Maybe notice the temperature behind the nose. Notice the pace. Notice how shallow or deep you're breathing. And now gently starting to follow my guidance. Let's begin to inhale for a count of 5, okay? And I will try to count this through just to alleviate you and your mind. So let's inhale in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, inhale, 2, 3. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Letting this breath become steady, rhythmic, predictable. Following your own inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Allowing this opportunity to continue to refine your attunement. Noticing how it feels. Noticing what shifts. Bringing a little bit more consciousness into this without forcing it. Really tuning in. Now let's bring in that inhale with a bit more conscious fullness. So breathing in down into the belly. We've done a bit of this already in the last few moments. And softening each exhale more and more. I'm going to count again. So inhale down into the belly. Exhale, soften. Going deeper, softer, rhythmic, and cyclical. A circle has no beginning and no end. Envision that circular breath. Soften that exhale, relaxing even further. And now, after every exhale, I'm going to introduce a gentle pause. So wherever you are in your breath, begin to tune back into my guidance. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause. Nothing to hold, nothing to force. Just noticing nothing happening in between those inhales and exhales. And yet you're still completely in this breath. Let's also notice how we're all breathing from different spaces, and we're breathing together collectively in this shared field. Now gently Let's return back to this space, to this present moment, allowing the breath to return to its natural rhythm. If you've closed your eyes or softened your gaze, slowly blink. Taking a moment to notice what's different in the stillness of the silence, in the stillness and slowness of this pause. What you might find is that this pause that you've just experienced is always there for us. It exists before we speak. It's there before we react. It's there before we make a decision or take an action. And yet we rarely notice it. Much of how we lead, how we relate, how we respond, this happens in the micro moments of our less conscious selves. And when that pause is absent, and I think as Rabbi said earlier, our breath is free. So is the pause, by the way. But it's not just in us, it's collective. And we begin to see these ripples everywhere in how we might slow down our judgments and how our conversations don't escalate, in how our decisions are made perhaps with a bit more space for safety, for reflection, for reciprocity. So this isn't just a personal practice. It's deeply, deeply relational. It's systemic, and it shapes the quality of how we live and how we lead. And we don't need to slow the world down. And by the way, sometimes I wish we did. But my heart tells me that the world isn't slowing down anytime soon. What we need to do is simply decide where we're no longer willing to move at pace, and to remind ourselves that a pause is actually not empty in any way. It's so rich. It's where our clarity returns. It's where our choices become available. It's where we begin to come back into relationship with ourselves at a deeper level, at a more conscious, knowing level, at a more loving level, and with each other in those ripples that we co-create and we co-generate through that co-regulation. And sometimes that begins with something so simple and so free and so available. And it's super radical, by the way, as a single conscious breath, a sacred breath that creates that sacred pause in a world where we need it more than we ever have. So I would encourage you to take a moment to journal, to perhaps ask a loved one the two questions I asked you. When are we carried through life? When do we exercise choice? What is sacred? And why is actually remembering that the breath and the pause is something that is sacred, because we don't want to lose the possibility of using one of the resources that we have available to us that isn't colonized by the speed and the less conscious forces that our lives are surrounded with and that pull us in all directions. Let's take 3 final beautiful breaths. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Breathe in and out. And I'd like to end this with a moment's pause in stillness in your own space where we have nothing to do, nothing to say, nowhere to go, but just to breathe here together in pause. And with that sacred pause, I hand back over and allow you to take a few moments as we transition from here to notice what happened when you took that pause with all of us here together. Thank you.
Mm, so good and so delicious was that. Thank you, Samreen. Woo! Blessings and love to the gifts you brought us today. I feel as if the pause was just on stage. It's so good. This is such a big teaching into the world of breath work. You know, early in the world of breath work, so much was found by not pausing, by circular breathing, by conscious connected breathing. And yet to find the power in the pause, in the old textbook, Shiva Sutra, it said in between the inhale and exhale, notice. That was the sentence, notice. And so look what happened today as Samreen slowed us down, first at pace, then inserted the pause. You own that. That is yours to keep. And I hope you clicked accept to the upgrade that came at you during this session. The breath, one of the last places that's been colonized by speed. Ooh. I invite all breath workers to take that quote, Samreen, and share it. It is so powerful. Very seldom do we talk about how our breath has been sped up and colonized in that way and gone to the wind with the way society's pace has taken it. I want to say also about your session, how beautiful she walked us into coherent breathing by simply counting 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. But I want all of you to know that doesn't root itself in any new agey practice, even though you can call it that too. But one of my colleagues, Dr. Richard Brown, associate professor of clinical psychiatry at Columbia University, shared with us that when they studied on 3 continents, all speeds they could. They took 4 breaths per minute, 5 breaths per minute, 6 breaths per minute, 7 breaths per minute, 8 breaths per minute, and found what we call now coherent breathing. Okay, that coherent breathing is 4.5, 5, or 6 breaths per minute. As you saw Samreen use it, she counted the 5 seconds. And then we inserted a pause to get to enjoy as well. But I'm just sharing that with you so all you know, there is research behind that which we're sharing. This is also scientifically proven. It is not just resting in the not just a bunch of hippies. All right. And yet, thank you for being an experimenter to each of you and to you, Samreen, as well, bringing today the gifts. Thank you, dear one. Blessings to you. Happy World Breathing Day. Thanks for sharing with us today.